Hello and welcome to the Daily Royal. My name is Shelby and I have been a royal watcher for the past 10 years. In this podcast, I talk about the daily events of 7 of the European monarchies. So I talk about Belgium, the UK, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, and Sweden. I upload Monday through Friday with occasional bonus episodes here and there. Today is Tuesday, April 20th of 2021. Welcome back, you guys. Today was kind of steady. I won't say it was busy, but it wasn't slow. It was just steady all day, which was kind of lovely. There are some big things, like a big event that's happening with the Spanish royal family. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But then, like, their whole week is really big, so this is kind of the light thing of the week. Which is weird because normally this is like a huge deal. But we did have something in almost every single family. So we are going to jump right now to the Belgian royal family. Today in Belgium, we had several events. First off, I'm going to start with my mistake yesterday. So apparently I didn't know what day it was. The whole day I thought it was the 20th, even though, like, I do this podcast and I saw the date was the 19th, but it didn't register until I was recording, actually, that an event that I talked about for yesterday actually was happening today. So, we'll get to that in a second, but just so you know, when I was all like, I think this event happened, but maybe it didn't, it hadn't yet, it has happened now. But let's first start with King Philippe's event. So today he received credentials from 4 new ambassadors to Belgium. So the new ambassadors are from Namibia, Nicaragua, Lesotho, and the Dominican Republic. So again, I've talked about this so many times. You all know this is like one of my favorite things that is happening. And probably just because it's 2020 and 2021 now, and things like state dinners and state visits and Order of the Garter and like all of these things aren't happening. And so this is like the one piece of ceremonial thing that is still happening. So I love this. I also just love international diplomatic relations. So this is one of my favorite events from all of the royal families, and I got blessed because 2 royal families had it today. So that was the first thing. And then also today it was shared that Queen Mathilde has been taking part in digital meetings with authors around Belgium. So 2 Dutch authors and 2 French authors, where they were focusing on the impact of COVID-19 on the, quote, literary world, and how these specific authors have been experiencing the pandemic and what that looks like for them. So that was her first event, and I'm a little confused. I don't know if that happened today or if it's been over the past few days, just because of the clothing. So because the next thing, so today, I thought this was yesterday, but today, Queen Mathilde took part in a video of a webinar focused on sustainable development goals with the European Policy Center, specifically around post-pandemic or during the pandemic and what that looks like right now. And so the reason I'm saying I'm not sure these 2 events I don't think happened on the same day is because she was wearing 2 different outfits. So this is something that I've noticed the Belgian royal family does. They release things, but it may not have happened on the same day because, like, the continuity in clothing is not there, which is fine. I mean, they're allowed to do that. These are things happening in private anyway, so I understand. I just wish they were clearer with, like, over the past couple of days or something. Otherwise it all looks like it happened today, and Queen Mathilde has had like 4 outfit changes, you know, like, what's going on? It's very possible she's had more than one, but I don't know. So that was my complaint about the outfit thing. But then this webinar today focused on the SDGs. It was really interesting because Queen Mathilde gave the opening address, which is pretty standard for these things. And then she did stick around for the discussion. So they asked her a couple of different questions, including like some of the SDGs that she focuses on primarily, which is SDG 4. It's focused on education. But I'm not exactly sure what I used to have these all. Let me see if I can find them quickly. But I know it's like equal access to education between girls and boys. So let me see here if I can find, that's not what I want. So, somehow I found the SDGs in Spanish. So objective 4, which is all focused on education. So, yeah, this is all in Spanish, which is fine, but I'm not going to sit here and try and translate. But again, focused on education and equal access. So that is what she was primarily talking about, as well as some of the challenges facing the SDGs in terms of, COVID has put everything on hold. Like everything in our lives has been put on hold because of COVID for the most part. I mean, life still keeps happening as we're all learning, but it has been put on quite a hold for the most part. And so it was a really interesting webinar. I think the European Policy Center posted it on YouTube. If they did, I will link to it on thedailyroyal.com, I think, unless they have it like private or something. So hopefully it'll be up online by the time you're listening to this podcast. So with that, we are going to, I'm actually going to quickly check the court circular. There were no public events happening with the British royal family, which I expected. So I am going to quickly check the court circular. I'm recording a little later to see if the court circular is maybe up and running. And it's not. Ugh. This is super annoying. So I think there's now like a delay from, I use Apple News Plus to get the court circular to get my Times of London because it's cheaper and works. It did work just as well. But now it seems to be like an hour behind, which means I wouldn't be able to start recording until 8 p.m. my time, which is maybe okay, but like not ideal. Let me check one more place. And if it's not here, I will rethink this whole thing. So there's nothing there. Let me check one other place. Sometimes I use social media as a backup, but I don't like to use other people's content because that's not nice, but I am gonna take a quick peek here. Yeah, so there was, and this is, so it seems like I maybe will wait tomorrow and record later to see what we are going to have. So anyway, today on the court circular, the Duke of Cambridge, president of the Football Association, this afternoon held a meeting with the chief executive of the Football Association via telephone. I would not want to be on the receiving end of that call. Also, I realized we never left the Belgian royal family, and now we're talking about the British. It's fine. We're just going to go with it today. Yeah, I would not want to be on the receiving end of that phone call whatsoever. 'Cause, yikes. And I'm sure it's about this Super League. Today it was announced that one of the teams was pulling out. You guys, I am now like fully invested in this Super League. drama. I don't know why. I need to stop. But it's fascinating. It's the first thing to me that football has done interesting in my entire life. So, anyway, so with all of that, we are going to now jump down to the Danish royal family because we just covered Belgium and Britain in the same segment because that's how my brain is working today. So let's go ahead and move on to Denmark now. In Denmark today, we had a couple of events. Only one of them was pre-scheduled, so that I already knew that one of these was happening. But sometimes, with every royal family, there's a surprise event right now because it's COVID. And so not everything is publicized on their agenda, which is fine. I wish it were, but it's not. So today, Queen Margrethe also received credentials from new ambassadors. So she received the credentials from the new ambassadors to Denmark from Bangladesh, Canada, Northern Macedonia, Portugal, and Indonesia. They released no pictures. I don't think I've seen pictures of Queen Margrethe receiving ambassadors since maybe before the pandemic. Yeah, probably. I don't know. They just don't take pictures of them, which is fine. But I don't know if they did before or not because, well, we've never lived through a pandemic and I started a podcast right before one started. So they did have pictures of the one in January or February of 2020, but then the pandemic started and she's received a few since then, but no photographic evidence has been shared. So that was the first event. And then also today, Crown Princess Mary took part in a meeting with representatives from the organization Mother's Help, which is what I translated it as. I Google translated the first word and I knew what help looked like in Danish. So I hope that's right. And they discussed the past year, the pandemic year, and how the pandemic has increased challenges on vulnerable people and vulnerable families because places to receive support from are not really in operation at the moment because, well, pandemic. So they were discussing that as well as the organization's strategic plan for the next 5 years. So those were the two events happening in Denmark today. Not a whole lot of information shared on either of them, and no pictures from the new ambassadors. So I don't remember what it looked like. I may go back and look through some photos or something, but yeah, that was the day in Denmark. They do, like I said, have kind of a busy week. There's a birthday tomorrow and maybe an event. They have a busy week, which is exciting. And I think I'm talking about almost every event. So that's awesome. So with all of that, we are going to go ahead now and move on to the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, again, we had two events. It's been that kind of day. Like I said, it's been a steady day, but not super busy and not super slow, which is kind of perfectly in the middle, and I like it. I think the week is gonna end a little more slow, or a little more quick paced. Like, there's going to be a lot to talk about Wednesday and Thursday. So that's okay. I'm excited. So today, King Willem-Alexander started his day with visiting the General Intelligence and Security Services. So he was on a working visit, so he was given a tour and a presentation about the latest developments at the organization. Of course, because of the nature of the visit, not a whole lot of information is going to be shared from that because, well, it has to do with intelligence and security, so you can't share much. I'm sure if there are more than the pictures I have seen on Twitter, like, they're all going to be blurry, if they show any computer screens or anything. That happens a lot in those kinds of visits, because, like, you want to show photographic evidence that it happened, but nothing that will compromise security. So that was Willem-Alexander's event, and then also today, Queen Maxima visited a company called CSU, which is a large-scale cleaning company that received the King Willem the First prize probably last year, and they were considered the winner in the large business category because they employ like 15,000 people or something like that, so definitely a bigger business. And this, I think, if I remember correctly, Queen Maxima delivered the King Willem the First prizes in 2020. It was, of course, a scaled down ceremony, but I'm pretty sure she did. And so that was just a continuation of that work. So that is what was going on there. I know, I haven't looked at their calendar for the upcoming week, and they kind of keep changing it. I know in the next couple of days, I can't remember, it's probably on Friday, they have a combined event for the first time in months. King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima will be at an event together, which is just, I've talked about this before, but it's so strange because in my remembering of 2019 and like the royal watching that I've done for the past 10 years, like, royal couples did a lot more things together, but because of a pandemic, like, that's just not happening. So it'll be nice to have like some semblance of a normal day, because we're just obviously not having a ton of those right now. So it'll be nice to have that for a little while. So that'll be good. And yeah, so that is what is coming up for the Netherlands this week. We are skipping Norway today because there were no events going on, and they have a fairly quiet week. They're coming back Thursday. There's a couple of things. Friday, there's always Council of State. So there are things, but we are for now going to skip them and move right on to the Spanish royal family. In Spain today, we had King Felipe attending the end and start. It's very confusing, but he visited Andorra. He's there today and tomorrow for the Ibero-American Summit. I think it was technically supposed to be held last year, but because of a pandemic, it's being held in 2021. So I don't know if that'll set off their, like, planned events or if they'll just have one next year and then go back to every other year. I don't know. I'm curious. I could look it up, but I'm not going to right now. So there was an official arrival ceremony for all of the heads of states that arrived today, which were King Felipe, the president of Guatemala, and the president of the Dominican Republic, who were both in Spain as of yesterday, because they had their meetings with Felipe yesterday. And then they all attended the closing session for the Ibero-American Business Meeting, which is always held before the summit of all the heads of state. So this included a panel discussion with all of the heads of state that were present. The Spanish Prime Minister, the Spanish Secretary of Economy, I think, Secretary of State for Economy, I think is her official title, and some others were talking about businesses and the pandemic, and so Felipe was, I think he came kind of in the middle of that, and then gave the closing address to the session, and then I think the official Ibero-American Summit also started today. So there were different panels, again, with heads of state, and then this evening there was a dinner with all the heads of state and maybe some of the other government officials. My day kind of got away from me, so I wrote down the start of the script and then didn't really finish it. So let me see. I'm going to pull up Casa Real's website. So we've got, okay. Just so you know, when I read things out or am trying to talk, I do translate everything to English using Google Chrome, because it's easier than me trying to translate while I'm talking. I can't do both. So that's okay. Let's see. So dinner offered on the occasion of the inauguration of the summit, with heads of state and government officials. So I'm looking at this photo, and it looks like it's just heads of state for the most part, although Pedro Sanchez, who is the prime minister for Spain, is in there. I think the Portuguese prime minister is also in there, as well as the Portuguese president. Both, let's see, there's the president of Dominican, Guatemala, the co-prince of Andorra, the bishop of Urdu, I think. So they are all at the dinner. And then there also seems to be maybe a presentation before the dinner, because they're all sitting in this really awkward situation and Felipe doesn't fit in his chair because he's really tall. There's photos of the dinner. So King Felipe did give a speech as well, where he talked about a little bit about his visit just a few weeks ago, on the state visit with Queen Letizia. And then he talked about how it's so important that they are able to hold the summit in Andorra. Okay. All right. So that is that. And then here are some of the other things. So yeah, he also gave a speech at the closing of the business summit, or business meeting, I guess. There were also prizes given out at this. So like I said, I haven't done a ton of research because I finished my script and then life happens. So I didn't really get to do a ton of research today, which is fine. Some days are like that. Also, I don't know. Anyway, so that is what was going on in Spain today. Like I said, tomorrow is more Ibero-American Summit stuff, and then you would think that this would be the big event of the week. The king headed to another country with all of these heads of state. It's really important, but there are a lot of important events this week in Spain, so it's just kind of a marathon with them almost all the time, but it's a marathon this week of information. So with all of that, we are going to go ahead and move on now to the Swedish royal family. Finishing up in Sweden, there were, I think, 4 events today. Only 2 of them got places on the website's homepage, but on the calendar altogether, there were 4. It's kind of hard to know when they're going to share what. I'm specifically shocked that one thing hasn't been shared yet, but that's okay. So we are going to start with each individual's event, and then the one that all of them did together. So today, King Carl Gustaf sent a video message to the Forum for Bioeconomy. This was a pre-recorded message. And then also today, Queen Sylvia took part in a digital board meeting for the Care About the Children Foundation. Next, Crown Princess Victoria sent a video message to mark the 50th anniversary of the Swedish Institute in Paris. And then finally, King Carl Gustaf, Queen Sylvia, Crown Princess Victoria, Prince Daniel, as well as Prince Carl Philip took part in a video conference with all of the governors in Sweden. So this is the one they didn't share anything about, that in Queen Sylvia's board meeting. So I'm not sure. I expect that will maybe come. I want to make sure. So it's officially, let's see, it's 2 a.m. now in Sweden. So I wonder if they added anything. It's 1 a.m. I don't know my time differences. I wonder if they added anything in here. No, they didn't. Okay, so they still haven't updated on it. It could come by the end of the week, or it may not happen at all. So there is this thing happening, and I've never talked about it because the royal family isn't publicizing it. But Crown Princess Victoria and Prince Daniel have been talking with each mayor from every single municipality throughout Sweden for months, but the royal house isn't publicizing it. So I'm not talking about it because most of the things I talk about come from the royal households, but so I don't know if it's maybe part of that and it's all gonna come together in one big master post. So I don't know, but it's on their calendar that that's happening, where it's these video calls that Victoria and Daniel are having are not with anything. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, those were the 4 events happening in Sweden. I'm so bummed that they didn't do a write-up on the meeting with the governors. I was really hoping for one. But that brings us to the end of this episode, and I kind of want to talk about a couple of things. So, if you remember, we were, before the death of the Duke of Edinburgh, we were talking about the monarchies of the world that I don't talk about on this podcast. So all in all, I think there's about 30 monarchies in the world, and I talk about 7. And so I made it through 28 of those 30, and then I was going to do a special episode to finish those out on Friday, the 9th, but then, of course, that morning is when it was announced that the Duke of Edinburgh had passed. So I put that on a hold for a week. And so what I think I'm going to do, is Friday seems like a pretty big day in a few royal households. So what I think I'm going to do is do a special episode on, record on Friday. It'll come out on Saturday. And then I'll record again for Monday, for Monday's episode. So it'll have any events that may happen over the weekend, but for the most part, it'll be focused on finishing up the 2 monarchies that are left, which, let me see if I can tell you what they are here. So it is the UAE, so the United Arab Emirates, which is going to be an interesting one. and then the Vatican City State are the final two that I have. And so those can almost in themselves make an episode. So I think that that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to record on Friday for the couple of big events that we have on Friday, and then continue with talking about those two countries. And then continue as normal, I think, is my plan for now. That may change, but I think that's what I want to do because I really want to wrap that up. I was obviously hoping to have it done by now, but I did really want to focus on everything to do about the death of Prince Philip, and like I really just wanted to hone in on that and respect the mourning period in that way. But now that that is over, in terms of the official mourning period, I want to continue on with these things. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because I expect the next couple of episodes to go to about this time frame, 30 to 35 minutes, which is my ultimate goal every day. So I think that that's what I'll do. And then the episode that comes out on Monday may be kind of short, but it'll cover anything that could happen over the weekend, plus the two monarchies left. And then the episode that goes up on Saturday will be all of Friday's events. So Friday there's like a birthday, there's a pretty, it's a pretty big day in Spain. It's just a bigger day. I think that's the same day like King Willem-Alexander and Queen Maxima are doing an event together. So I want to do all of that day, and then continue on. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And so that brings us to the end of this episode. I will talk to you all tomorrow. Please visit thedailyroyal.com, The Daily Royal on Instagram, like and review this podcast, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday. Bye.